Well, here we are in the month of February, and still the Women's Basketball Association does not have a contract, and frankly, they may not see a contract this year, or possibly in a year after that. Let me tell you the way this is going on, what has happened here in the last week. As you know, last Monday, the WNBA Players Association and some of their representatives, not all, because some couldn't get there because he had other obligations with the unrivaled league and couldn't get to New York City on time. But a meeting was held in New York City with the WNBA Players Association and representatives and individuals from the WNBA. Now, the players came in saying, hey, we want to get a deal done. Let's put it on the table. Here's what we want. And they're expecting the WNBA to, here's our latest offer. Here's what we're going to give you. Where were we stuck at that time? The players want 30% of the gross off the top revenue. That's after any bill has been paid, anybody's been paid for anything. They want part of the money now because they are demanding. The men playing, they get 50% of the gross. And they want, ladies, we want only 30% of the gross. Big problem is the NBA makes money, and they make a lot of money. Every team they have, every game they played, sold out house, they're playing all over the place. Money is being made hand over fist because people watch the NBA and have for years. The WNBA is not so lucky. They've been around for 28 years, and most of the time have been playing in garages. Nobody cared, nobody watched, and nobody made money. As a matter of fact, the owners who were funding the association were losing roughly $40 million a year. All right, that's the way it was. So now we had the meeting on Monday. And what happened? Well, the owner said, you're getting your 70% of the net, not 30% of the gross. We ain't doing it. But we'll give you a little bit extra stuff in here because they had a list of what they called CBA improvements. It was 37 items that they wanted changed or they wanted beefed up and made better. Some of those 30% things were, well, you'll pay for our living quarters. So you get an apartment paid for by the league. And, let's say have something else. How about you get 5-star hotels when you go on the road? Not just, 3 stars, you're in a Motel 6. You're going to the Hyatt. That's where you're going to the nice places. You're going to get that. And here's another big one. No more marijuana testing. Marijuana testing will be gone. Apparently, there's some of that going on in the league. No more testing, so you want to use drugs. Oh, and here's another nice thing. Non-birthing parent leave during if someone has a baby. Yep, figure that one out. So you can get leave for that. All sorts of items, 37 different items. The league says, okay, we'll give you that. We will give you those items, but we're not budging on the revenue. You get 70% of the net. They want 30% of the gross. The meeting ended. Where does it stand? Well, as it stands now, the league has said, hey, we want this or we're not playing. And of course, what do the owners do? They publish the list of the schedule for 2026. Why'd they publish that list? Because they had to. If you don't book your venues, those venues aren't going to be able to play. They're not going to be able to use them. They had to commit to the venues where everybody was going to play because you got to set up the entire travel system, the planes, the people, everything needs to be done, the hotels, everything has to be set up in advance because you know where everybody's going, what everybody's going to be doing. They were stuck with that. They had to do it whether they wanted to or not, even though the league, may not play. Because right now, the head of the league happens to be the chief negotiators for the Players Association, also happens to be the co-owners of the rival basketball team, better known as Unrivaled. But here's something to think about. In the entire WNBA, there's 100 free agents. Not everybody's tied to a team, folks. You got about 180 players, I think it is, total in the league, but 100 of them are free agents. They don't know where they're going to play, who they're playing for. They live paycheck to paycheck. And they're starting to tell their management of their particular players union, hey, take the deal. Why? Tell you why. Because the new pricing is that the owners are going to say, okay, You used to get a base salary of $76,000. Maximum you can make is about $250,000. The new rule will be this. Instead of getting $76K a year, you're going to start at $250,000 a year. You were making 76K, you're moving up to $250,000. And the top you could make is about 1.2, 1.3 million, even higher than that with the revenue you're going to make. So the top players, yeah, they get over $1 million. But the base players go from 76,000 to $250,000. I don't know about you, but if somebody offered me that when I was working, I'd probably take it. So the unsigned players, the free agents, are saying, take the deal. This is a good deal. But right now, the players involved who are doing the negotiating said, we are standing firm. You give us our 30% of the revenue or we don't play, because they have the right to strike. They've been given that by the league. The league has voted and said, you guys got a right to strike, and they do. So what's going to happen? Well, right now, you got no drafting going on. You got no free agency. You've got no preseason. You've got nothing going on, and these things should already be starting. You got 2 new teams coming in. Who are they going to draft? How are they going to draft? Who's going to be free to be drafted? Who's going to be kept? What are the prices that owners could pay for the players? They don't know any of this stuff because, well, nothing's been settled. And until such time somebody budges. But remember, the owners have acquiesced on a whole bunch of stuff involving the CBA improvements, 37 items, including taking away marijuana testing, among other things. So that's where it stands, folks. Now you understand. Is the impasse still there? Yes, it is. Will it be settled soon? Unless the Players Association gives up and says, we're not going to get revenue sharing, but they said that's the sword they are willing to die upon. And if that's the sword they're willing to thrust themselves onto, folks, you may not see the WNBA this year. And depending how things go, you may never see the WNBA again. But of course, I could be wrong. But right now, it is what it is. No season, no games, no play, and no money. And now you know.